Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's first session. From the stage, it looks very lonely out there. You're all sitting a long way back. If you do feel a need to move further to the front, please do so. I'd like to start by introducing myself. I'm Jennifer Peasley from La Trobe University, where I'm University Librarian. Today at this session we have three speakers, and our first speaker is Cliff Ashford from Auckland University of Technology, who is going to talk to us about opportunistic transformation at AUT. For the past 30 years, Cliff has been a digital instigator, innovator and implementer of digital technologies across a variety of industries, including tertiary, government and consultancy. His background is in delivering business intelligence solutions, and that led him to the Auckland University of Technology 4 years ago, where he is now Director of Software Development. His team are responsible for the agile delivery of projects that cover a range of functions, including AUT's intranet, campus visualization, mobile apps, Internet of Things, collaboration spaces, research, support and innovation, and personalisation. Cliff will be speaking, and we will take questions either via the app or via show of hands, and we will hopefully have a microphone, since you're quite scattered, if you'd like to ask a question from the floor. So please join me in welcoming Cliff.
Thank you very much. Afternoon, everybody. Sounds like you can hear me. That's good. And welcome to the post-lunch session. So if you fall asleep, I'll try not to speak too loud and just let you zuzz off. I'm going to talk to you about some of the stuff we've been doing at AUT over the past few years and give you a feeling about where we've gone with our transformation over that time around innovation. So let's just make sure this works. Yes. Opportunistic transformation. I'll explain what I mean by that term as we roll through it. The first thing, who am I? I've been in the industry a long time, as you can tell by the grey in my beard now. About 30 years, about half of that in solution delivery, half of that in BI and analytics, which is where some of that feeling about agility and sort of move fast and fail fast came from. As I said, 4 years in tertiary. I only started at AUT just over 4 years ago, and I went through that transition phase of finding out what a tertiary organisation was like from the inside. It was quite a shock, I'll tell you. Two-thirds of my career probably been around the agile area. The first third was around that waterfall, because agile didn't really exist at the time. But when I originally started my career, I was partly of the opinion that a database could fix anything. I don't know if you've seen this Dilbert cartoon. I think I used to be on one side of that fence, now I've moved to the other side of the fence in that cartoon. First things first, what are we talking about? So you hear a lot about digital transformation in this conference, and I was relieved to see this morning in the presentation that some of the things I'm talking about align with what I've got in these slides. So digital transformation, from my point of view, it's about people. And you'll also hear that it's not about the technology. It's about the activities, it's about the processes, it's about changing the way people work. To do that, there's lots of components that help you do it. Agility, like I've just said, which obviously doesn't mean speed, as you should all know by now. Being customer-centric. I like to think that these days I've moved away from thinking that an IT solution can just be imposed on people and make things happen. Efficiency, streamline, speed, all those sorts of things I think are key as well, because you don't, any given attempt you do to transform an environment may or may not work. That fail-fast thing, so you want to be able to see if it's working or not and then move in a different direction if it's failing. But one of the key things about it is the ability to see opportunities and take advantage of them. In my role, Liz has given me, Liz Gosling, are you out there, Liz, somewhere? Oh, there you go. Has given me sort of enough freedom to indulge myself by talking to our various customers, the students, the faculties, the other directorates, to sort of try out different ideas. And you'll see some of the ideas today that we've worked through. As important as what DT is, what it's not is quite important as well. It's sort of all of these things you can see on the slide here, but it's also none of them. You can't just put things in the cloud and get a transformation. Clouds are great. They provide agility. They provide ability to spin things up and down. Doesn't just give you instant sort of wins in your organization. And there are several negative things as well that we've discovered. Also, artificial intelligence is a great buzzword. That can do some things. It shouldn't be applied to everything. Use these things in the right context. Transformation is a bit of all of these various things, but mostly, as I said, it's about people. So that's my definition of what digital transformation is about. Cultural change supported by technology. We can find ways to remove pain points for people by talking to them and then saying perhaps technology can help. Now, why would you listen to me and why would you listen to us? Over the past few years, we've moved up the rankings in CIO magazine. Liz, once again, can wave to this because she's now number 10 CIO in the New Zealand CIO magazine. Also, we have another conference, which is very like this one, except it has a very heavy trophy for a prize that you win at the conference. It's called the Tertiary IT Conference. We won that on 2 years, the last few years, and I'd like to win it again this year because I'm quite competitive about these things. But it does sort of show that we've been moving in the right sort of area and we've been sort of respected by the industry for what we've been trying to achieve. Now, as I was preparing for this presentation, I did a bit of Googling, like everybody does, and I found some interesting stuff published by Harvard Business School. And this is about some of the things people are finding difficult barriers in digital transformation. So first of all, the term followers and laggards is a bit strange, but essentially these are self-identified companies who feel that they're leading the industry or not. So the main things that non-leaders are actually having trouble with are leadership, lack of innovation, cultural resistance to change. And I'm sure you're familiar with all of these things. We all find them. Universities possibly have more resistance than any organization I've ever worked in. But when you look at the leaders in this area, the things they're fighting with are still the same as the things everybody else is fighting with. They're fighting with the silos. The fact everything is locked away in little functional groups and you can't get the advantage of blending the things together, spreading essentially data from the finance area that might help students out, for example. So, and legacy processes. Those, I think, are something that you can only improve by showing people a faster way of doing things and then they'll start to do those things. So it's something that is iterative, but you can break down organizational silos if you tackle them the right way. And I think that's sort of what we've done at AUT. Now, when I was preparing for this presentation as well, I was looking at this and saying, so it's quite a complicated organization. I quickly just jotted down what I considered some of the most obvious systems at the university. And within 2 minutes, I came up with 45 different systems, which gives you a sort of indication of just how broad the scope is of a university. We run 3 different business models at a university. There's learning and teaching, there's research, and then there's that community engagement thing that universities are part of the environment in which they live. That's a really complicated thing, and the sort of competing business models that fight against each other. These systems are also siloed. They're all broken into different groups, so some would be student-facing, some would be running the administration of the university. Some of them you might not even think about as systems. They're sort of bits and pieces on the back end. I've sort of grouped them up here by different sort of functional groupings. But once again, you have all of these, but they have a huge unexpected opportunity hidden in them. If you were to look at just one system, one of the ones that's close to my heart is the timetabling system at the university. I've been working with that team since I first started there and getting their system embedded. We use Syllabus Plus. What came out of that relationship with the timetabling team was understanding what you could do with this data. And if you just look at that one system, bearing in mind you just looked at 45 systems before, this is one system. And we have, 3, 6, 8 different easily identifiable data points sitting against that one system. Some cross over with other systems, some are unique to that environment. Now, if you start scratching your head, you can think of a whole variety of things that you could do with just that data set from that one system that weren't necessarily part of the system in the first place. It was put in there to make sure that we could schedule time for students and lecturers to meet in the same place without any clashes and without too much traveling. But it also does a lot more stuff as a side effect of what it does. We've got some interesting examples there, some of which we've actually addressed in some of these things you'll look at. What is the cost of, are we using the rooms efficiently? I mean, campuses are enormously expensive places for universities, lots and lots of buildings. We've got a large chunk of central Auckland that we run out of. That's a huge investment. Are we using it efficiently? That's something that falls out of some analysis we can do just from the timetabling system without anything else. But to take advantage of this, you need to put something in place. It's not all about dynamically doing something very, very quickly. You need to prepare so that you can then move dynamically, then you can be agile. You've got all the systems sitting out there. What you need to do is pull them together somehow, and you guys will all probably done something similar to this. You pull these systems and try to break down the silos and feed them into each other with some sort of integration model. There's a bit of techno mumbo-jumbo. We use RESTful web services at AUT, a thing called ARIP, which allows the systems to talk, essentially publish their information for consumption by other systems. That means it's easier to maintain. It means you can change systems without breaking everything else. That allows the systems to share things, so you put them in one place and they get used lots of different places. That's very helpful when you're trying to do that Gartner split between something that's a system of record and something that's a system of engagement. Systems of record, like finance systems or the timetabling system, those are all about making sure you have your data perfect and the perfect custody of that data, because any mistake in it will have impact upon your customers, your students. There's a second thing, which I imagine a lot of you are doing as well, is taking that data set and feeding it into some sort of secure repository. Now, at AUT, we've got a data warehouse. Thankfully, just one data warehouse. I know quite a few organizations with more than one, which is just creating yet more silos, which are a bit of a problem when you're trying to break down that. So, to my mind, to provide some sort of digital transformation, you need some foundations. And this integration layer and this layer of storage, secure storage of the data, so it can be used for a variety of things without possibility of breaching privacy, breaching ethical standards, being hacked and someone stealing everything. So a very, very secure repository for these things, because as we know from Google, the more data sets you combine together, the more power you get out of them. At AUT, I think we have somewhere between 60 and 70 different feeds into data warehouse. We have quite a rich set of data that comes into it. So that's sort of the preamble about where we are and where our foundations are. Excuse me. I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we've done over the last couple of years. If some of you have been to tertiary conferences or other places, you might have seen some of these other presentations, but they're worth a sort of relook. So, our opportunities, these opportunities to do something for the business, to help out our customers or help out our colleagues at the university. When I started at university just over 4 years ago, I went and met a lot of academics, and almost the first thing they said to me was, can you do something about the fact that we have hundreds of different calendars? I have a timetabling calendar, back to timetabling. I also have my Outlook calendar. I have lots of spreadsheets that we have in the faculty. I have my leave that goes into the leave system. I have systems spread far and wide. I've got my own Google calendar, all these various things. How do I know what's happening? How do I know when I should schedule a conference if it's going to actually conflict with another conference that's happening at the same time, like this one? I know there are a couple of conflicting conferences at the moment. How do I get that sort of view? We've only just pulled this together about 6 months ago. That took me years to get that sorted because it's a remarkably difficult thing to do. The industry does not support it very well. But what we did was put together something called the global calendar. Now, the idea of that is we have a single repository, and if you hark back to the Dilbert cartoon, I'm afraid this was actually a database will solve everything. We put a back-end database in place, a Microsoft database and SQL Server, and we fed all the different tools into that. So we fed the timetabling system, we fed the Exchange, which sits behind Outlook. We fed things like leave and holidays. We hoovered up a lot of these little spreadsheets around the place and provided forms for people to enter these things in to say, what are the key university dates? When's the payroll dates? When's stuff happening in your event system? All of these things pulled together into one large location. It's quite big, many, many millions of rows of data in it for only 6 months data, for 6 months of information. But that means you can now have a personal calendar that tells you everything that's going to happen to you. And if it works for staff, it works for students. Students can book time with the lecturers because they can see when they're actually available or flagged a period of time as being available to talk to their actual students. Something that fell out of this that we didn't expect was that we built a site for emergency management at the university to handle things. We actually had a mumps outbreak the other day, which I think Liz was locked in a room dealing with something about that a couple of weeks ago. That emergency, the global calendars fed into that, so you can actually find out where everybody at the university is supposed to be. There's obviously a restriction on this where it's supposed to be. They're not necessarily there, but in theory you can find out where everybody is. So if you need the Vice-Chancellor urgently, you have one system and you can find out where he is. So for that one specific environment, we remove all the security and open it up to the emergency management team so they can see everything. Everywhere else this is locked down so that people have no access to it, and it's actually a bit more secure than the underlying systems that we pulled the data from. You'll see coming up on the screen there's little videos of these things, just to prove I've not entirely made this stuff up. They are actually working. How long have we got? Okay. So that sort of concept of time, talking about things again, what we hear from the students the whole time is the students are time poor. The students want things. If we survey the students, they ask for, the first thing they always ask for, which you probably get as well, which is, can we have more Wi-Fi? I think we discovered that we could put infinite amounts of Wi-Fi in and they'd still say they want more Wi-Fi every time we talk to them. But shortly after Wi-Fi comes, can we have apps? Can we have simplicity? Can we know what's going on? So we were doing a project just over a year and a half ago, and that was to try and provide better systems for the students to pull things together into one place. And an aspect of that was a student mobile app. Now, our university has lots of mobile apps, but it didn't actually have a mobile app for the students. So this project was a bit of another opportunity to do something driven by the students rather than driven by what the university thought the students should have. So we pulled lots of students together, we pulled them into workshops, we drew things on the board, we got their top 20 things that they were interested in. We then took those top 20 things and did a survey of the entire student body with a very nice phone as a prize for filling in the survey. And they helped us prioritize what they wanted. Only at that point did we actually look at what was feasible, what we could do and what we couldn't do. And from that, we looked at the sort of top wins the students wanted and things that we could actually get out in something like a 2-month project to get something delivered. So the two top things that they wanted were some sort of immediacy countdown, something to tell them the next thing they need to do. I need to get my library book back in the library in 2 hours. I've got a lecture in an hour and I've got an exam in 3 weeks' time that I need to start preparing for. I've got tutorial, I need to go to the other campus and the campus shuttle is about to be here in 15 minutes. All these things so they can just pull their phone out, have a look at it and it'll tell them what they need to do next. That's sort of how I live as well. I pretty much live off my calendar. I go where it tells me. I'm sort of a symbiotic relationship with my phone these days. Now, that was what the students wanted. In addition, they wanted something to tell them where to travel to. So they wanted mapping, but not Google Maps, because they could find the buildings of the campus after they've been on the campus for a couple of weeks. What they can't do is find the specific lecture room or lecture theatre when it's suddenly changed because something's happened at the university. So they wanted some sort of navigation functionality. That's what we put into the student mobile app. Oh, we also want to put a bit of fun, some other things into it just to sort of give it somewhere to go. So it gives a different tone to a university system. So we want some social features into it, which we're going to add into it next. There's a little video running here of the app there, so you can see that it works. We try to make it a bit animated and a bit funky and cool as well, so the students would like it. But that's essentially fed out of a variety of different systems, like the timetabling system, like the library system, to say what the students need to know at the next moment. And integrated with this mapping technology, which we picked, which is Maze Maps, which is software as a service, but really quite nice to integrate. So we have all our campus floor plans built into that now. That should probably bubble up in a second. There you go, Maze Maps. So that was a bit of a hit with the students, partly because we also worked with them all the way through. We said, what do you want? So when we were testing it, we had student groups sitting there, videoing them, saying, what do you think? Does this work well? Do you want that? Do you want to swipe right, swipe left? How do you want this to work? So it sort of hit the sweet spot with the students because we let the students design it. Now, following this idea of actually going and talking to people and saying, what do you want? Same situation with research. We had we're a young university. We are exactly 17 years old. I think we became a university on the 2nd of the new millennium. Now, from that moment on, our Vice-Chancellor has been trying to get us to raise our research level, and we're steadily climbing up. But as I say, we're very young. We're only 17 years into it. But what we discovered was that there wasn't an awful lot of support coming from IT for the research community. So a lot of research involves collecting data. Some of it involves building mobile apps or building websites. A lot of it involves collaboration, people working together either inside or outside the university. Some of it just involves some sort of advice about which best tools to use. So we put together something that we called the ART program. And this is one of the examples of digital transformation that is primarily people. There's a little bit of technology in there, but it's mainly talking to people and listening to them and saying, what do you need? So a big chunk of this is consultancy. We go in there on new projects and say, so are you going to collect a lot of data? Is this like 1,000 rows of data, or is this 1,000 terabytes of data you need to collect? Where are we intending to keep that? Oh, you were going to buy a server and put it on your desk. Okay, we'd probably give you a better solution than that if you want to work with us. Do you need to do high-performance computing? Why are you buying those 4 graphics cards for your desktop PC? Why don't we just get something, a cloud service or something like that to work with? So essentially using our domain knowledge about the IT area to help our researchers. Researchers don't want to do administration. Researchers don't want to do IT stuff. What they want to do is the research. Much like teaching staff want to teach. They don't want to get stuck behind the technology. This has gone very well now. I think we've engaged in a lot of projects. Currently there's about 20, 25 active projects that we're running with just now, and we keep scrolling through them and moving on to the next one. Data is collected in the tool we wrote. We wrote a data collection tool that we use internally. That collects onto our servers, so the information is secure straight away. It's not on a thumb drive or a portable hard drive or something else, or even a server someone's bought. It's actually going straight into our servers. We use a mix of cloud technology and a mix of on-prem, depending on the sensitivity of the data and the solution. You might have heard of this. This is the stroke riskometer. It's one of the more public bits of research that we produced. The app itself was built by an Indian software house, but all the plumbing behind it, the negotiation with the software house, the securing of the data, and then the publishing of that data, that was all done by my team on the back end. So that's why we know this is entirely secure. If someone stores their details as part of what is now, I believe, the largest clinical trial on the planet, they store that data, it comes into our servers, and it's completely secure. Download it. It's actually quite a good app, and you can find out scary things about how likely you are to have a stroke in the next 10 years. It's completely free. And the other big one, I suppose, that we've done is the student multi-system fatigue. You all have this. You all have those 45 systems I showed you. Students probably have to access maybe 10 of those, all with different interfaces, all different look and feel. Some work on a phone, some only work on a desktop, all sorts of problems with them. We're tidying those systems up, but what we wanted was a single place where the students could actually work with us. So as a sort of sister project to the mobile app, we were putting out a hub or a portal, which is what we built. We ended up calling it the Student Digital Workspace. Now the app was 100% driven by the students. This is probably 40% driven by the students, 60% by what the university think the students should have. So there's a bit of a blend in there. Now, this is where cloud technology comes in quite well. This is Office 365. We managed to take that from inception to delivery in 14 weeks with a team of 5 people. So if you use the right platform and the right tools, you can do this very quickly. Because we had that ARIP layer that I told you about, that integration layer, it meant we could feed university data securely straight up into this. Even though it's in the cloud, we have a secure pipe that goes out to the cloud so that the data can't be exposed. Which means the students don't know they're not on premise when they're using this tool. It just looks like a really cool tool that's mobile first. It will work beautifully on a mobile phone. I think if I have a look, there's what it looks like. It's, as I say, completely responsive. It's got a lot of tools built into it. It's got that mapping technology built into it. So some of it crosses over with the mobile app. So there's a bit of a feel that we're not just randomly throwing things out. We're trying to be consistent about what we give the students. It sits on top of several systems, so you can open up the library system to see various things while staying in this. So it's data from the library, but it's not actually the library system itself. Similarly, you can do this with room booking and other information. So it all goes through the same look and feel. The students learn one thing that they can use on their phone or on their iPad or on their desktop. It looks the same, works the same in all environments. That's a very sort of cool experience for the students, and it means that because this isn't the core systems we're doing the interfacing, we can change it very quickly, we can evolve it. We've already had 2 more updates to it since we went live at the start of the semester, as we're refining the experience and seeing how the students are using it. That fast turnaround was something we're missing from the systems of record that's underneath it. as I say, it works nicely on a mobile phone as well. And essentially, it just restructures the thing so it works beautifully. And trust me, it works on an iPad too. So we've done these. We've done a lot of other stuff. We worked with the estates area because I said the campus is your most expensive resource. So I quite like working with the estates because they're focusing on where we can save money for the whole university and also to make a cool and a well-understood environment for the students. So we wanted a space database and we went to buy one. This is another example where a database did fix it all. But it didn't, none of the commercial technology had what we wanted in terms of flexibility. We wanted something that would allow us to refine our environment. So if you look at this, we now have floor plan visualizations. It's not the best one, a more centered one would have been nicer. That's showing different data about these in lots of different ways. So it goes from basic number of how many can be seated in that room or which faculty has got claim to that room. You can show things like live numbers of people in that room based on the Wi-Fi information, which is the other reason why we're keen to put a mobile app out. Because the advantage to students is quite a cool app that tells them what they need to do. The advantage to us is that they're on our Wi-Fi and we know where they are and we can see when they're traveling about the campus how they're using it. We can see the occupancy of these rooms live. So this isn't an analytics thing that you do from a data warehouse, it's a live feed. You can turn up there and do a census of the room by saying, okay, there's supposed to be 43 people in there. Okay, there's actually 45, but that's close enough from the point of view of working out where the room is being well utilized. So these tools are responding to need. Here's another one. This is our research area is expanding. So this is a visualization of our research capability rather than just having an HTML page with a list of stuff on it. It's a bit fun, it's a bit funky, you can move through it, you can move up and down the hierarchies, you can group things differently. This is Nina. This is our bot, a sort of mentor for the students. For the students who don't want to talk to real people, they can talk to Nina. And she will tell you stories about things like the data warehouse data, how many students do we have, how many are Maori, what happens if I don't hand in my assignment on time, where's the nearest shower or water fountain, lots of things like that. You even ask her where you can get a beer, and she will recommend the slightly dubious bar on campus. Now, running towards the final minutes. So, there is a bit of science behind this. This is one of those Gartner-type diagrams where you look at the value of things. So if we look business value against complexity, there's a lot of different stuff you can see up there, and lots of different systems fall into these quadrants. The area that we're usually attacking from this is high value, low complexity as much as possible. We want to do things quickly, get the best bang for our buck. So a lot of those things you saw we did in less than 3 months, sometimes less than a month. If you look at the actual things we released, once again, they're sort of mainly in that sweet spot, the area where we like to play, bottom right-hand corner. We also have some stuff in the top right-hand corner because we've got a bit more budget, a bit more time, so we could actually move into that area and do some of those things. Global calendar was complicated. But what I've got to stress is that those things, that foundation underneath it, having an integration layer, having a data warehouse or something similar, data lake, those things actually allow you to do the rest of the stuff. So you do have to invest in that component. So yes, databases have solved some things for us, but only because they were a side effect of what we wanted to do. They were the best technology to solve it at the time. Thank you for listening. Any questions?